Hello everyone. This video came up in my feed, and while it's a few months old, I think it's a great topic for this channel, especially considering my past and my dating issues, particularly when a young man. This video is from Dad Saves America, and let's get started.
Two-thirds of men under 30 are single. And again, people lie about these numbers.
Two-thirds.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't know that stat. Two-thirds of men 18 to 30 are single. And I think the numbers are really higher because most people, when they say they're in a relationship, they're in a situationship. And or maybe not most, but a very large amount. And I don't count situationships as relationships. And I can see the pain in your face.
I have a huge issue with the term situationship. I don't think that there is any reason that that word should even be used. If you're not in a relationship with somebody, but you are seeing them romantically, then you're dating them. So you're either not seeing anybody, you're dating somebody, or you're in a relationship. That's it. Stop with this stupid crap of a situationship. It's a this quasi stupid word that is used for no other reason than to make it sound like you're in a relationship when you're not. Get over it.
Well, not to interrupt the train of thought, but the almost singular piece of advice I've been giving my son since he's graduated high school is I don't care about any other part of what you decide to do with your life. Find a woman that shares your values and team up with her.
That's very Italian.
All right. Now, this is great advice, and certainly from a father to a son, encouraging them to find someone that shares their morals and their values is a great thing. But let's also be realistic about the way dating is. You're not going to find that. Just let's be completely clear. If you're in your early 20s, or even if you're 18, 19, just graduating from high school, most women are not looking to settle down or have a serious relationship. The problem with feminism and this push towards women's empowerment is that it also has told women that you don't need to be at home. You shouldn't be looking for a relationship. You shouldn't be considering having kids. You shouldn't be trying to build a life together with another man. You are empowered. You are your own woman. So instead, these are women that are out in the workforce trying to build their careers. These are women that are out partying, going out. You'll see them on Instagram with these pictures of them traveling the world. Although, again, oftentimes they're traveling the world on somebody else's dime. There just isn't going to be those women available to you.
So a third of men under 30 are virgins. Again, I assume that's an undercount. And so this is a huge issue. And
So this is the incel revolution, which is one of your
exactly,
ideas.
yes. And so let's say you work all the jobs and then you can't afford to have a family or you can't get laid. What's the point of working the job if there's not the reproductive payoff?
This is a very important point that he makes here. Many men work very difficult jobs where they're putting in 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day, 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week to bring in their money. When they come home, they're tired, they're exhausted, they're burnt out. The last thing that they want to be doing is putting in a Herculean effort to try and get women. Not to mention the effort, but also the money that's involved. Oftentimes, the women that are out there aren't happy with a coffee date, aren't happy with a walk. They're going to want the man to shell out cash. And not only are they putting in this effort, but now they have to put in this money too. He's going out, he's spending money, he's putting time into making himself look good, and he's getting no play. Sooner or later, he's going to say, well, this isn't working. The hell with it. I'm going to stop. And so I would argue that maybe not all, but that at least a significant amount of this two thirds plus of men, young men that are single, is because they simply have said, this isn't worth it. And so if they aren't going to get what they need, then why are they going to be putting in this ridiculous amount of effort?
So for that's one. Second thing is you can't afford a house to support kids because that's through the roof. And keep in mind, young people spend 2/3 of their income on rent.
All right. A very, very important point about economics here. He's absolutely correct. The cost of everything is just getting more and more expensive. Now, when I was growing up, when I was in my early 20s to mid 20s, maybe even to my 30s, things were a hell of a lot cheaper. I have mentioned that for part of that time, I was working on a salary that was, what was it, $28,000 a year. Wasn't great money, but I was able to at least afford taking care of myself. I could afford rent. I could afford to at least have food. I could cover my utilities. The truth was is that I maybe had, I'm thinking back to it, I probably had maybe $300 at the end of the month left over if I didn't have any unexpected expenses. Now, sometimes I have a good month and end up with a little bit more just because, I didn't spend as much or something else didn't come up that cost me money. But $200 to $300 is not a lot of money. And you think about it, if you're dating a woman and she insists on going out to a nice meal, you think about today, if we translated that into today, obviously 26,000 is not enough for anyone to live on their own. But if I can't do the numbers right now, but let's scale it up. Let's scale it up to whatever would be equivalent. So you have $200 or $300 left over after your required expenses. If a woman wanted to go on a nice date, you're talking about, let's see, a meal, a meal at a decent restaurant. Heck, even if you're talking something like an Applebee's or a TGI Fridays or something like that, for two people, you could be talking $100. And then you're also talking about potentially the cost to Uber. You could be looking at $100 to $150 when it's all said and done. And if you're only coming out with, say, $300 a month extra income, that's going to be half your expenditures on a single date. You may get something there in terms of interest and the ability to move on to a second date. But then what are you talking about? In a week, a second date, that's another $100 to $150. There's your $300 just gone right there. And literally now you have no money left over. God forbid there's an emergency or something else. And the reality is, a lot of people right now are barely making their expenses on a monthly basis. So there are a fairly large number of men that have to live with roommates right now, potentially are still living at home with their parents, that have absolutely no wiggle room. In fact, they probably have no money to save whatsoever. How are they going to afford a date to impress a woman? They have no ability to even take care of themselves. So, in some ways, you could call them incels for the simple fact that they don't even have the financial means to be able to afford to go on the most basic date whatsoever.
Because it brings up the point I was going to make. There's no incentive to cooperate inside the system. So you're talking about why someone would show up to work and not do a good job. And I can completely understand that because that was me in school. And if I had a job, I don't think I'd work hard at a job if I had a normal job now. I would be completely disaffected. And I work hard in my current job because I have a sense of investment in it. And also, it's my work. I'm responsible for it. I can do it how I want. I have agency. If you don't give men agency, men aren't going to work.
I couldn't have said this any better. If men are not seeing results when they're out there trying to date or when they're trying to work hard at their jobs, why are they going to put the effort into it? The simple fact is that young men, and really men of all ages, even at my age, even at 47, there isn't the reward for putting in effort to dating. You're expected to spend money that you don't have, time that you don't have, energy that you don't have, and you're seeing no results for it. And that also applies, he mentions it here, in the workplace. A lot of men are simply tuning out of the workplace and doing the bare minimum because why are you going to bust your ass? Why are you going to bend over backwards to get a few cents of a pay raise and a pat on the back and then potentially find yourself fired for no reason whatsoever? The reality is, men have just said enough is enough. You end up with two groups of men. You have group one, which is, I'm not going to deal with women. They're not worth my time. All I do is see pain and frustration whenever I try to date. So I'm going to retreat to my house. I'm not going to go out at all. I'm going to play video games with my friends. I'm going to go to work, get my paycheck, come home, watch some spicy content and whip something out, and then go to bed and repeat the process. And that's how they're going to live their life. The other group is going to not focus on women, going to be better in terms of making more money, in terms of their physique, in terms of their social skills. They are going to be better in terms of making more money, in terms of their physique, in terms of their social skills. And these will be the women that all these men, these will be the men that all the women are going to be chasing, but these will also be the men that want nothing to do with them. This is why it's so important for men to stop focusing on women. Don't be chasing them on dating apps. Don't be chasing them on the internet, in real life, whatever the case is. Focus on building yourself up. Focus on improving your social skills. Focus on improving your income. Focus on doing the things to make yourself as good as you can be. And if the women come, that's a wonderful thing. And if they don't show up, well, great. You can continue to live happily without them being a part of your life. If you enjoy this type of content, please like, subscribe, and share. Let me know with a comment if this is something you want to see more of, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.